living the dream. I'm in love with the lights. This is not just a game. This here is my life. Put the cameras on me, yeah, yeah. Put the cameras on me, yeah, yeah.
Hello, everybody. Live from the luxurious South Beach of Miami, it's the OZone. I'm your host, Omar Miller. I'm here with my brother, Terry Miller, who's still in L.A. with a bum foot. Hey, what's the update on your what's the update on your injury reserve? I have a lot of people asking me about you here in Miami.
Well, I'm on the IR for another week or two, and then I'll go from there to a splint or a brace. Working it out slowly but surely.
Have you started the throwing program? Are you throwing from 30 feet yet?
No, I'm just on the dumbbells right now. I'm just on the dumbbells, getting a light workout in, trying to keep the belly off.
Yeah, and also that helps you heal just the circulation. But since we last spoke to you guys, the world has changed. Like everybody else on Sunday, we woke up in Los Angeles to a very foggy day after a week of sunshine to receive the horrible news that 9 people had been killed in a helicopter crash, 2 of which were very well known. Lakers legend Kobe Bryant passed away. Everybody knows it. And, we're just going to spend a little time here because we're remote, but we'll spend more time on the next pod. But we had some fond memories ourselves of Kobe Bryant, and it seemed like yesterday that we opened up for him on a speech, and a lot of the OZone listeners knew that we weren't the biggest Kobe Bryant, the player fans. And there's a wonderful picture of us on my Instagram where we both have to eat crow because Terry was particularly not a big fan of Mr. Bryant on the court of the Mamba. And yet, when we met him, he actually was super cool. Super cool when we met the guy.
Very, very cool. I mean, he's a really nice guy. You like to see a guy turn the corner. This is actually a book that we're writing in life, and he was actually turning the page and going into a new chapter of life. And, it's about redemption and him changing his life around and changing his attitude, being more of a family man and a public figurehead and not just being about the Mamba mentality that everybody's pushing, but he was more about just doing what was right and helping people out and, just spreading positivity.
Which I think was a facet of the Mamba mentality, but it was the Mamba mentality in day-to-day, as opposed to being a relentless, tireless warrior where you dominate and crush your opponent. Yeah. It was more about using that same drive to improve your own life and improve the life of others, like you said. And, from my perspective, Kobe Bryant and I are both the same age, and he was like the last generation of kids that grew up playing basketball on concrete, the last generation of kids who grew up idolizing Michael Jordan. And it's something I haven't heard anybody really speak on, but Kobe Bryant was the only person out of my generation that was able to actually manifest wanting to be like Mike and make it happen. There was all these different players that came that couldn't hold it. There was Harold Miner, which they termed Baby Jordan, which it ruined his career. You had a gang of different players who were modeling the game after Mike, but nobody was able to mimic Michael Jordan and his success the way that Kobe Bryant did. And what it did there is it galvanized a group of people because we could all see it. Because if you were a little kid and you watched Michael Jordan, you practiced Mike Jordan's moves. Michael Jordan's videos were at the park. They weren't necessarily in the gym on the wood all the time. And nowadays, you can't even catch a basketball game at the park. Nobody plays at the park. Everybody plays inside.
Which is crazy.
Which is crazy. And
everybody's out there messing up their knees, right?
But that's the tricky part. He was that last beacon of that hard-nosed kind of basketball that I grew up on watching in the 80s with hard-nosed defensive teams like the Pistons, like the Celtics, like the Lakers. And he played that kind of basketball into the 2000s, sometimes to the detriment of the team because it was living in Los Angeles. It was notorious to hear stories about how hard he was on his teammates and about how, how he was. A lot of people talked about how Mike. He was. Yeah, just like Mike. He modeled his entire program after Mike. The only difference is it seemed like Mike was still having fun. Kobe's was just still a job. And it was great just to stick with what you were talking about, to see him after he got done playing basketball and the give back and him maturing as a man making the sorts of decisions that he was making for the community. And now you're hearing about all of this stuff afterwards, things that he was doing in secret, little texts he's sending to people to encourage them and so on and so forth. All this great stuff that he was doing. You know,
man of faith.
Man of faith. I mean, he was literally at church before the helicopter crashed. It's just really surreal. The whole circumstance seemed really still seems surreal. And they had an incredible tribute. I actually didn't get to see it. Did you get to see the tribute last night?
Yeah, I saw it. It was long. It was overwhelming. You know, everybody was tears all over the place, and you know, it was deep.
It was deep.
It seems like what people, you know, it's cathartic in the sense because it seems like it's what a lot of people need, and this is just a awakening for everybody to recognize our own mortality.
And that's exactly what I'm taking from it. And you know, the other thing is you just can't. For me, it's really incredible to process how much someone who most people have never met, known, had a beer with, had such a heavy impact on their lives. Because there was a unity and a unification that has taken place around this tragedy that I can't remember. Right? I can't remember. I can't remember. Can you remember another person who passed away who galvanized Americans like this? Because they're really the division
you know what,
that exists in the country is incredibly connected right now in this grief.
Yeah, we're just in a different time, but Michael Jackson will be the closest because I remember people being at the hospital and in the streets and everything else. But that's the closest that I can remember. And, you know, and obviously just like Kobe, I've been seeing a lot of defamation come out after the fact, not to condone or discourage or, to say anything about what he's done in the past or whatever. But like I said, life is actually, we're writing our own story, and he had turned the page. And so everybody else should turn the page and try to celebrate life more so than running somebody down after they pass, because it doesn't serve a purpose. And not only that, we're all flawed. So when you want to point fingers at people, then you have to recognize that that you are flawed as well.
Yeah, I don't know. Everybody has to deal with that whatever way they want to, because if you feel wronged by someone or if you feel injustice, I always feel like people should speak out. But I've never seen somebody in this scenario with this sort of impact, because like with Michael Jackson, to me, this would have been the equivalent if Michael Jackson would have passed in 1990, 1995, like, shortly after Thriller or something to that effect. Kobe Bryant was removed from his prime, but not removed from his prime to the point of where people don't remember. Michael Jackson had so much other stuff going on, whether it was contrived or true, that changed things as far as when he passed. But this situation is so near to so many people's hearts, and it's also a beautiful lesson on how sports can inspire people. Because sport is supposed to be the great equalizer, and it's where people can overcome and test themselves. Really, really positive. But seemingly who it did not deter was Dame Lillard, who has put up some of the silliest numbers over his past 5 or 6 games in NBA history.
He's averaging the last, 5 or 6 games, he's averaging 48.5 points a game. I mean, the dude is just... And what's awesome about it is that he is a 6-footer. I do believe that he's like 6 feet, maybe 6'1", and he dominated.
Really? I thought Dame was like 6'3". But anyway it goes, he is out there dominating. I can tell you that much. We don't talk about basketball, but it is
he had the model mentality too, because he went out there and put it on LeBron and them, and I don't think that the Lakers were ready to play. I really don't.
It didn't look like it. From what I saw, the highlights that I saw, it still looked like it was too soon. I actually was astounded that they continued playing after the day of, after the announcement. Yeah, the day of. I thought they would cancel the whole slate.
Yeah, I feel like the NBA dropped the ball when it came down to it, because when I first heard about it, I was looking for the accident. I saw it online, but I was actually looking for some information on NBA.com who didn't catch up, didn't get up to speed for at least an hour after the tragedy. And then, you couldn't find it on television. You couldn't find any information anywhere. I was just blown away by that in general.
Yeah. Yeah, it's kind of wild. Kind of wild. Yeah, I'm sure as the information comes out, we'll have more on the Kobe Bryant and Gianna Bryant and all of the other 7 people who passed away in this tragedy's information. We're going to move on now to some boxing. I'm down in Miami, and I went to the card on the Zone. And I watched a fight that I've been anticipating for a while, which was Golden Boy's JoJo Diaz versus Tevin Farmer. And I'm here to tell you, I have to eat crow because I've met JoJo a bunch of times. JoJo was the homie. I didn't think JoJo was going to be ready for what Tevin brought to the table, and I could not have been more wrong. I was ringside for the fight, and there was serious concern at the arena as the fight continued that there was something wrong with Tevin Farmer because he didn't move like himself. He didn't.
Yeah, they were talking about it on the broadcast. They were talking about it because he was doing a thing. I don't know if you could see it if they showed it at the stadium, but he was looking up at the clock to see what time it was. He kept looking at the clock, and then he kept blinking.
Really?
He kept blinking. Yeah, and they said that he had a problem with his hand, so I don't know if he broke his hand or broke his wrist.
It looked like he broke his hand. I watched the fight with Bernard Hopkins. It looked like he broke his hand at the end of the first round. After the end of the first round, he started shaking out his hand. And B-Hop was like, "Oh man, you can't show anybody that. That's like even if that is the case, you got to wear that. You got to wear that in a hard way." Like, and he shook his hand. You go back and you that's it. And if you go back and watch it, he seemed to focus primarily on movement after that, and not being hit as opposed to hitting JoJo.
Yeah, it was all about defense and no offense. And not only that, but I don't understand what that had to do with his win because it seemed like he was short-winded. It just didn't seem like he was there.
Like he was short-winded.
This was one of the worst. And it was one of his worst performances that we've seen in years because it just didn't look like he was up to code. It didn't look like he was an elite fighter or a champion.
He did not look like an elite fighter, and he's looked like an elite fighter for
JoJo did
years now. JoJo looked like an elite fighter, despite having one of the nastier cuts you'll see in boxing. That was
with that ribeye on his eye. He had that ribeye.
Oh my goodness! He had a straight up volcano on his eye.
I mean, that was one of the worst cuts I've ever seen. Yeah, I mean, early. And Tevin Farmer didn't do anything to work on it. I mean, he didn't do anything to work on.
They said that he went afterwards. Lou DiBella said that he went afterwards and got a CT scan because they were trying to figure out why his head was ticking. They said he was having like involuntary muscle spasms and whatnot. So
that would explain why he was looking up at the
yeah. He wasn't right. Something wasn't right.
No, he wasn't.
Not taking anything away from JoJo because JoJo showed crazy heart and
he showed great boxing. A great skill set, man. He looked good. I mean, the jab was pretty good. He was throwing punches and bunches. I mean, combinations were dead right. And Tevin Farmer pretty elusive, and he was on him.
Yeah, and then when they were inside, he was pounding his back, and he said something else that was great. He was like, you know what? We're going to run it back with Tevin. I'm sure he wants to. I'm going to give him an opportunity to get his belt back, and then we'll see what else is in the future. So we'll see what happens. I know that before this fight, Tevin Farmer was saying he was done at 130. This was going to be his last fight at 130, and it was time for him to move up. So I don't know if it was a weight cut thing that happened or what happened, but even when they spoke to him in the ring after the fight, he didn't even seem like, it didn't even seem like it was a big deal.
No, it didn't. It did look like something was wrong with him on the broadcast. It looked like something was wrong with him. It didn't look like he was there.
Live, it looked like something was wrong with him as well. He didn't look right. He did not look right. What I can tell you is, though, from being at the fight live, a lot of love for the OZone. We want to thank all of you guys who listen, who tune in, who watch, because when you catch us live, we're really excited. They're asking if we're doing a pod live from the place. Told him my brother was on the injured reserve list, so there's only so much he can do. But, yeah, it was a great experience. Good card. In that and in the fight that was on before them with that cat Roman, there was a lot of people. Your man Peter Bird's gym, Sammy and Peter had a guy named Ammo Williams who's coming up, and Ammo knocked somebody out in the 4th round. Things are looking up for them out west at Wild Card West, now recently rebranded as Churchill Boxing.
Okay. Yeah, I know that the Andrade fight was not up to. I just really did not really care for that fight. That fight was not up to code. I had a hard time keeping my eyes open. That Andrade fight was a fight to me that shouldn't have taken place.
Everybody had a hard time with this fight.
Yeah, he was completely overmatched.
It looked like the YouTube guy should have fought him instead of Andrade. It looks like, YouTube, Jake Paul looked better than Keeler did.
Chris Paul would look better than that. I mean, it looked terrible. It was
hilarious.
CP3. I mean, that was terrible.
It's also interesting because there was a great card on that came on before the Tevin Farmer fight, which was this cat, Murodjan Akhmadaliev versus Daniel Roman. Did you see that? It was a split decision. No, I actually thought Roman won the fight, but it was a tight one.
And to check out the only Roman, I had to go back and
you got to watch it. He became Uzbekistan's first unified champ.
Oh, really?
Good fight. Yeah. He just
what weight was it?
The little guys. He just became the first. Look at this. He just tied Leon Spink's record for the fastest male boxer to become a unified champion.
Wow.
So it was great. Yeah, they're little fellas. I want to say maybe featherweights. They were pretty small.
Okay.
But they went in there and chunked them. And you know what? You know who I got to meet at the fight that was just fantastic? Was Clarissa Shields.
Oh, you met her. Nice.
Oh, man. She ran up on me. I said, well, what's up, champ? But she was through the roof. She was great. Really, really great.
Oh, that's awesome.
Got to speak with her about, there's a lot of trolling going on back and forth between her and Layla Ali and Cecilia Brækhus and all that. And just had a lot of, words of media wisdom for her. And she's just such a bright star, positive. She was really shining. She was exactly where she should be. She was getting praised in the public for her boxing ability. Really great. Really great.
So it's going down out there, right? You going to all kinds of stuff and events and whatnot.
You haven't, are you crazy? I haven't seen this many faces in a very long time. Yesterday, I stumbled into an event. I was going to dinner. I was going to a lunch with my friends. And when I walked into the joint, I bumped into David Beckham. And David Beckham was like, hey, what's up, man? I love the OZone. Yeah, he didn't say that. But he did treat me like a peer. He did treat me like a peer. We had a great conversation, a great time. And he thought my friends were in one room, and some of my friends were there. I go to that room. Everybody's there. Bill Belichick, Robert Kraft, Shaquille O'Neal, A-Rod, Beast Mode, Meek Mill, and Donovan Carter from Ballers.
DP was in the house.
DP So Fly was in the house, and it was a lot of love. There was a lot of love. And, you name it, they're here. Tom Brady. Last night I saw a concert with Post Malone, Mark Anthony, all sorts of people are here. It's really going down, and the vibe is up. Everybody is real positive, despite there was a deluge last night. Man, it rained so hard. Oh, boy.
It's not raining today. I heard it's supposed to be a serious downpour today, clearing up for the game tomorrow.
No, it seems like it's pretty light today. It's raining, but it's light. Not like last night. Last night was like, there was a tornado watch, I do believe. There's a thunderstorm watch. It was incredible last night. But hopefully it clears out and we get a clear game. Speaking of the game, man, it's split right down the middle. Everybody you talk to is literally right down the middle when it comes to the Super Bowl. What do you got?
I have the 49ers. I'd like to say, I don't like to be corny and go with defense wins championships, but from my past and watching the past and everything else, I've watched a bunch of high-flying offenses that gotten shut down by good defense, and they have the best defense in football, not the New England Patriots. Maybe the Patriots are number one on paper, but actuality, the San Francisco 49ers are the real deal. The San Francisco 49ers are going to be able to put pressure on the quarterback with their front four and then mix in a couple of blitzes. They can control the clock with the running game, which keeps Patrick Mahomes off of the field because they have a three-headed monster back there. And I really feel like one of the biggest things that everybody, if they get into a shootout, people are asleep. Jimmy Garoppolo can throw the ball. Jimmy Garoppolo is not like a manager. Everybody keeps putting the manager tag on him. He's not a manager. Yeah, and he's an actual quarterback. He can run. He can throw the ball downfield. It's just he's a great team player, and he does what the team needs him to do, depending on who they're playing against. So when he went out there against the Saints and needed to get in the shootout, he got in the shootout. When he needs to get into that tight room that they got into with the Ravens, he had a tight game. They lost, but it was a tight game. It came down to the last play of the game. I mean, a field goal. So he's not just a game manager. So if they get in, the 49ers can actually shoot it out with the Kansas City Chiefs.
If they need to, and I don't think they're going to need to. If they need to,
but I don't think they're going to need to.
The issue also is we've watched Kansas City go through the playoffs in their 2 games getting slow starts. I don't think you can afford to get a slow start through this first quarter, first half against the 49ers. One, because their defense takes the ball away. So if you get a slow start, you're probably going to pay. And also, I've watched this San Francisco team all year that if you get a slow start and you get down, they make it real hard on you to come back. Real hard on you. That defensive coordinator is up to code. We already know that Shanahan knows how to run an offense as long as he doesn't stop giving the ball to Devontae Freeman. And this is I'm pumped up. The game is coming up. It's very soon. Chomping at the bit. I got to see. I still don't have a ticket. I got to see.
Really?
See somebody got to clutch up and come through for the kid with a ticket.
Lace him up.
Somebody got to lace me up. Hey. Yep.
Yeah, but everybody is feeling like the way for the Chiefs is to high fly and throw it in the air, but they need to actually make some noise on the ground. If they don't make any noise on the ground, they're not going to be able to beat them. You need to be able to run the ball. There's no way that you're going to beat the 49ers sitting back there and passing. It's not going to happen. You're going to have to pound the ball at least to establish. If you think that you're just going to come out there and pass the ball against them, it's not going to happen. And they played against Russell Wilson, two times this year. So they're not going to be blown away. Now, not comparing the Seahawks to the Kansas City Chiefs because the Kansas City Chiefs have elite talent, but the scheme, the quarterback, the principle between Mahomes and Russell Wilson are the same. I would, if you ask me which one I would rather have, I probably would take Russell Wilson, honestly, with the same talent.
Oh, yeah.
But I honestly believe that the 49ers are going to win this game.
Well, we're about to find out. It's go time. It is go time, ladies and gentlemen. Also got major action. Man, have you caught any of this Australian Open?
I have. There's been some upsets, and there's been Muguruza. How do you pronounce it?
Yeah, she came back. And I'm really happy for her because we were in London when she won Wimbledon, and now she made it all the way back to the finals. She won the first set. It looked like she was on her way to win the Australian Open. Next thing you know, the young girl, Sophia Kenin, was not having it. So there's an American holding the crown in Australia, and I couldn't be happier about it. Really happy about
that. That was unbelievable.
Yeah. That was great. There's been a lot of great matches. I mean, as expected, the Djokovic-Federer match, Novak is on the highest level right now. And It's a trip because it's just like watching how Manny Pacquiao faded against Keith Thurman. Roger pulled the magician act, got away with it for 2 matches in a row that he should have lost, that went 5 sets, that he was able to pull out because he's probably the greatest tennis player of all time, and just use cagey veteran willpower to get past those 2 dudes. Novak wasn't having it because he jumped out on Novak, and Novak got into his groove and gave Roger the work.
Straight sending, right?
Straight sending. You don't see that a lot. And
no, you sure don't.
The surprise was Dominic Thiem at number 5 taking out Rafael Nadal. That was the surprise, and that was a great match.
Yeah, that was a real upset.
And then Thiem went and took care of Alexander Zverev, who was my sleeper cell to get to Novak.
He is your sleeper cell. I think it was personal. I think
that's the homie. and it's going down bright and early, 3:30 in the morning. Dominic Thiem versus Novak Djokovic for the Australian Open 2020 Championship. Very, very difficult to bet against Novak Djokovic in Australia. But the kid Thiem is ready. Don't sleep. Yeah. He's ready. It's gonna be a good one.
He is. He's prepared.
Yeah. So, just want to give you a quick bite, let you know that we're living it. We're enjoying it on the OZone. And, as always, want to leave you with a quote. Guys, I tell you all the time, we're all in this thing together. We've had massive wake-up calls this week. We really have to take care of each other. And I want to leave you with a quote about grief. And it's from Ernest Hemingway. It is, "We are all broken. That's how the light gets in. If you're broken by this week's events, by anything's going on in your life, recognize that there's a light at the end of that tunnel. And you just have to keep putting one foot in front of the other, and you'll get there. I'm your host, Omar Miller, and this is an espresso shot of the OZone. OZone.
I'm just living the